What's up YouTube? This is going to be your guide on how to use Kyurem and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'll be providing competitive movesets and some fun meme movesets too. If there's a Pokemon you'd like to see me cover, leave it in the comment section. If you enjoy these, they help you out, drop a like on the video and let's get into it. So Kyurem has got some pretty decent stats for sure. And it's also used in fusion with other Pokemon. So I thought I'd start off with the base form here tonight. So looking at its stats and abilities, it only has pressure. So a lot of the legendary or mythical Pokemon have pressure. So we've got a big special attack stat here. Nice health stat. Pretty good bulk all around there. A good attack stat too. And speed. So this Pokemon can be a physical attacker and a special attacker and even mix too. So I'll go over all of that. Now, our first set here we're going to look at is like a Choice Scarf or Choice Spec set, which it can definitely run really well. You know, a really great like wall breaker too. So let's have a look at some of the moves it learns. So Freeze Dry is a nice ice type move on there. Mainly because you can hit water type Pokemon. So I like having that as a main ice move on there. You can have Ice Beam too. That is an option if you want that over Freeze Dry, or you could even run both of them if you like. I find when I run both of them, I miss out on a little bit of coverage. Draco Meteor is a nice move here, especially with Choice Specs. You can actually use it once and then maybe again afterwards before you really need to swap, unless you come across really special defensive Pokemon. Flash Cannon I quite like on there because you can hit Fairy type Pokemon with that, that are expecting a Draco Meteor and a swap in. So it's pretty nice for that. And we've also got Terra Steel, which is going to further boost that power too. And the last move, of course, is Earth Power. That's purely for Steel type Pokemon and Fire type Pokemon, but mainly Steel types. It is definitely good for coverage. So, as I mentioned, I've got Terra Steel here. Terra Steel is a good defensive type on there. It's also pretty good offensive too for any Fairy type Pokemon. I quite like using that. You could have some other Terras on there. Since it's a Dragon type, you could have Fairy on there too. And that would be quite handy. You have to come across a Dragon versus Dragon type there. And you could Terra Fairy just to get around that Dragon move. Also a very good type coverage too. You could just give it Ice too if you want to do a really powerful Ice type move. That could be very nice too. If you're not really interested in having extra coverage with Flash Cannon, like I said, you could put Ice Beam on there too. But I like the coverage for that. I don't think there's any other ones that could be useful. Maybe if you want to boost up the power of Earth Power, you could try and do Ground as well for incoming Steel type Pokemon. That would be the only other one I could think of. You could try Terra Ghost too as more of a defensive one for any fighting type Pokemon. That's probably another one to go for too. You'd be immune to like extreme speed Pokemon. So that's probably about it for Terras. I quite like Steel on this one personally, but I've given you a few good options. So EVs, pretty basic on Kyurem, so speed and special attack, timid nature. And I put Scarf or Specs. Specs is probably a bit better because it hits harder, I would say. Scarf, you're just going to be outspeeding stuff. It's not a real fast Pokemon though, so I would have Timid, I would have Specs, that could definitely work, and Scarf, you could have Modest with Scarf, but either one of those is going to be, definitely quite useful. This is probably more geared towards singles, such as a Spec set. You could definitely try it in doubles, but there's some other items and strategies you can use for doubles there, which I'll show in a sec. Alright, our next set here is going to have a look at Kyurem's capability in being a physical attacker. Now, it's got some good physical options, and I'm going to show them to you. So, firstly, we're going to have Loaded Dice as the item because it gets 2 multiple hitting moves here. So, not only it gets Dragon Dance, which is great, Really, really good. So that's going to boost his attack and speed. It's got a nice, its special attack and attack are the same base, so really good. And you can go Adamant Nature on this because you've got Scale Shot there to increase your speed. So I would definitely always go Adamant on that. Definitely. And you've got Dragon Dance too, so you may as well just hit as hard as possible. So you've got Scale Shot there as, you know, you've got 100 base power Dragon Move minimum, 125. It hits for that 5th time. Same with Icicle Sphere. So you've got some really, like, that's 2 really, really powerful moves there. So I really like that. Max speed and attack Adamant Nature. Now, I like running Terra Blast Fire on there because it makes Kyurem immune to anything like Will-O-Wisp, right? It also gives you good coverage against any Steel-type Pokemon. I also like that too. So you can definitely, definitely give that a shot. Another one you could give, this would be purely for coverage, would be Ground, I would go for. That would allow you, it would get you some coverage against Steel types. You wouldn't be paralyzed. You're also immune to stuff like Volt Switch and Thunder Wave and things like that, so it can be useful in that way. So they're probably the ones I would pick there. Another decent one you could have too, if you're coming across stuff like Kyogre, depending on what rule set you're playing, right? Any bulky water Pokemon might be a bit of a pain unless you're really set up. So maybe something like Electric too. So that could be an option too. But I quite like running Fire on there. I think Fire's probably the best one to run on a physical set for sure. A purely physical set. Definitely. So that's a good option there for sure on a physical one. So attack and speed EVs, definitely. Now, you could do a mix one too, and I'll give you a mix attacking one. I think that could be a good idea. So for a mix attacking one, what I would do, if you want to be able to, I'd keep Dragon Dance. I would probably. Just thinking what I'd do here. I would give that Earth Power because you're gonna have a problem for Steel types. And you could do like, I would get rid of Loaded Dice. Something you want, maybe Never Melt Ice would be good on there. And you could give it, I might be inclined to give it Freeze Dry. Because that way you can hit water type Pokemon and you've got an ice type move. And that way you still got Icicle Sphere there as well. And that will work, pretty nicely. So you got that, and then that's pretty good. You got mostly good coverage there. Now for EVs, let's swap this up a bit. I'd do something like Hasty or Naive. One of those two, I would definitely do. So I'd keep it max speed. Now you probably want to put like. Let's put like 9. I'm trying to think on the top of my head here, which would be pretty. 168 and 88 would be pretty good because they're pretty close together, right? In terms of, in terms of damage, right? So you can almost drop like a little bit back there. So 140, 116, or 88, 168 would get your maximum EVs out of that. And then you've got a good special attacker and a good attacker there as a mixed attacker. So that's another good one. I'd go Terra Ice on that. So that's this is definitely more of a singles build. Absolutely. So a bit of a mixed one there. Let's have a look at some doubles now. Okay, so this one's kind of similar to what I showed you before. Very similar in EVs. So different moves though, a couple of different moves. So I like Blizzard, so very, very powerful move on this. And you could put Alola Ninetales with this too. And then Alola Ninetales can set up the Veil, and then you can go for Blizzard. So that's going to be a very, very powerful Pokemon. Now, Earth Power we've got on there for coverage, Fire types, Steel types, Rock types, stuff like that, right? Draco Meteor with a Jetpack is good because you can use Draco Meteor And then you could swap another Pokemon in, say, an Intimidate Pokemon would, Incineroar or something along those lines would be useful. Even something, any Pokemon with Intimidate would be good, or U-Turn or Volt Switch. Great synergy there. And Flash Cannon just for Fairy-type Pokemon. I think that's pretty good. And EV's speed and special attack, I don't think you need to do too much different to that. I'm trying to think. Maybe like a mix set, we could change the EVs up a little bit from 252. Definitely. But yeah, that's my first set, and Terra Steel as well. I like Terra Steel on Kyurem. I think it's good for sure. We might do like a mix, like a bulky set in a sec there. So that's like my first one. Now my second one is a bit more of a tanky set. As I mentioned, I want to do this, and it's got Assault Vest as well, which makes it really tanky. So we've got Blizzard and Glaciate. So Blizzard's just a useful move. Glaciate, it's not a very powerful move, but it is, you've got a 100% chance there to drop the opponent's speed, both of them. So that's a nice support move. You've got Freeze Dry as well on top of that. Hit Water-type Pokemon and Flash Cannon. If you feel that's just too ice heavy, which it well could be, you can pop on Earth Power on top of that too. Now my EV spread, we got max health, 176 in defense and 80 in special defense. That gives it pretty good bulk all round. I gave it a bit more in defense because we've got Assault Vest there to make up a little, make up for a little bit. So it'll actually be more tanky on the special side. But if you run this under snow, it's going to be pretty even there. It's going to be freaking bulky as well. So that's definitely a tanky Kyurem set there. You could try that in singles too, but this is definitely more of a doubles build. Terra Steel or maybe Terra Fairy or Terra Ice. You could keep if you want to run under snow, have Terra Ice because you get the defensive boost of the snow then too, and that'll benefit Kyurem and make it even more bulky, right? So there's a couple of doubles builds. But Blizzard is just great fitting stuff like Landorus and Dragonite, Tornadus, those sort of like popular, Amoonguss, those kind of popular Pokemon, Ogerpon. Earth Power allows you stuff like King Gambit, just an example of a Steel-type Pokemon. And then you've got Flash Cannon for stuff like an opposing Alolan maybe. Yeah, and you could do Terra Blast Fairy on there too. That could be another good one. And maybe instead of Flash Cannon, you could have Terra Fairy for like Raging Bolt or something like that. But there are some other options that you could do there. But that's the general sort of idea. Now you can use the Choice Specs one in the snow. Just have Ninetales set the snow up, and then that's going to be pretty good. The only suggestion I would change there would be... Actually, no, that's pretty good. I think that's pretty solid, actually. You could have Terra Steel, Terra Fairy, Terra Ghost, Terra Ice. There's a lot of different things you could use there. So that would be my suggestions there for some double set. Let's have a look at some other options here and some memes. And we'll talk about some teammates and some counters and such. All right, so this is a bit of a more gimmicky set for sure here, but we've got Throat Spray and Hyper Voice set. So this actually boosts Kyurem's already really high special attack because we've got Hyper Voice on here. So this will be good for doubles, and we've got Blizzard and Flash Cannon and Earth Power. So it's just got all-round coverage, basically. Now, you could do Terra Normal on there if you wanted to, but the only real benefit you're going to get from that is being immune to, like, Ghost-type moves, and you're still going to get hit super effective for, fighting moves. So, and you're going to power up Hyper Voice a bit there. So, I think to use it as a tool just to boost a special attack and then use Blizzard is probably going to be better, especially if you use it on a snow team, which Kyurem works really, really well on, right? Same sort of EVs there. It's max special attack and max speed Timber Nature. That's what I would do there. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Let's have a look at a PIMPNITE special set, and we'll talk about some teammates, counters, and some other thoughts. All right, here's the true PIMPNITE special here. It's a banger. So this one will be nice if you ran it in the snow too, definitely, because that's going to make it more tanky on the defensive side. So we've got, it does have Sheer Cold. Now, Sheer Cold could be a fun throwaway move on, even if you're in doubles. Could be, you know, if you're looking for something, maybe on that supporty set, you could try and throw it on there. You'd have to make space for it, for something. Maybe you get rid of Freeze Dry for it, but anyway. We got Sheer Cold, Ancient Power, Rest, and Sleep Talk, and we got Leftovers. So the idea is to feign as many Pokemon with Sheer Cold as possible. Ancient Power boost up all your stats. It's only got a 10% chance, but if it does get that Omni boost, it's going to be super bulky. And you've also got Recovery with Rest and Sleep Talk too. Pressure is good for stalling Pokemon. And then you've got Leftovers too. EV Spread, we got Health, Max Health. And we've got 124 in Defense, 132 in Special Defense, and we've got Timid Nature too. I just did Timid Nature because I was going to try and outspeed a little bit slower Pokemon in that speed bracket. But you could always just dump that into... You could always dump that into, like, say, defense there and make it a little bit more defensive. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this fun set here. I gave it Terra-type Ghost there, just for any fighting-type Pokemon. You might want to give it Terra-type Ice, though. That way you get the full benefit out of Sheer Cold for accuracy there. All right, let's do some teammates and counters and stuff like that. So some good teammates for Kyurem. Whether you're using this in doubles or singles or whatever rule set you're playing. I always like to apply my videos for lots of different rule sets. A fire-type Pokemon would be... Cinderace would be not a bad... That'd be pretty good for singles, I would say. So Cinderace and Kyurem will work pretty well together. And then you've also got something... Maybe a Steel-type. I was thinking... Corviknight would work well as a partner for that in singles and doubles. So that kind of covers its weaknesses fairly well too. And especially for singles, this would be pretty good for getting rid of any entry hazards as well. Because Kyurem does not like entry hazards being its ice type. So that could be a good defogger and pivot there. So we have that, and Goldengo would be another good one too for doubles and singles. So dealing with fighting type moves, excellent. And dealing with fairy type Pokemon, excellent as well. And his steel type moves. So, and any status moves too, good as gold. So that makes a good partner. Zamazenta wouldn't be too bad either. I would say Zamazenta. Yep. Zamazenta Crown. For any fairy type Pokemon too, that would be good. That'd be nice. And any like real stally Pokemon too, I reckon would work well on there. This would be more singles related. So something like Alola Mola would be a pretty good partner for that. Definitely. And maybe a physical, offensive, Great Tusk would work well too. That wouldn't be bad at rapid spinning away any entry hazards too. More singles for that one. But yeah, giving you a couple of examples of doubles and singles Pokemon that could work there. So, counters. There's quite a lot of counters for this. It's not a hard Pokemon to counter at all. So, for doubles, I would say Incineroar is a pretty good counter there. So, Incineroar's got good resistances to a lot of its moves. And also can just get rid of its item and drop its stats. If it's got Parting Shot and Knockoff would be pretty good at getting around that. Another good one for doubles, I would say Iron Hands. Iron Hands has got some really nice bulk and it can really threaten with those fighting type moves. So that would be a good one for sure. We talked about Goldengo already. Goldengo is also a very good counter for that, for its typing. It resists virtually everything except for Earth Power. Any entry hazard Pokemon kind of mess this up too. So Gloomora, I would say, is actually pretty good. Gloomora is pretty good. And any like it likes to be in the snow. With I forgot to mention this, but I did say it before. Ninetales Alola is good. Other Pokemon like say Torkoal can disrupt the weather and stuff like that with Drought or Groudon, whatever rule set you're playing on there. And any entry hazards, the Glimmora. I was thinking Ting Lu would be a good one too, a good counter. So that would be not such a good Pokemon to deal with it, but just a nuisance for Stealth Rocks and Spikes and stuff like that. So that would be that's some good counters there. Zacian would be a good counter too, if we're talking about doubles too. So Zacian's going to absolutely destroy it. So I think I've given lots of counters and stuff like that, and teammates. There's plenty of them. So it basically, this Pokemon is a very, very good wall breaker. And it works well on tanky, stally teams too. Because you can use those stall Pokemon. Like I mentioned, I'll just use a Lomomola as an example. Like tanky stall Pokemon work quite well with it, for sure. Even more so in singles, right? But it works as a very, very hard-hitting wall breaker. Let's have a look at some final thoughts here for Kyurem. Always like to look at everything. Okay, so we've had a look at Dragon Dance. We know it can be that. We can be a mixed attacker too. It does have screens too, but I feel it's not going to be very suited for Kyurem because it has too many weaknesses, and there's just better Pokemon to do that job. Raw, same sort of thing there. It's not really. It does have Dragon Cheer, but this is a wall breaker, so that's more too supportive for it. It does get Imprison. Outside of imprisoning Blizzard and Draco Meteor, that's going to be about it. It does get Noble Roar, which could be fun maybe with Throat Spray on a tanky set. It can set up its own Snow if need be as well, and Rain and Sun, which is interesting. But not a really expansive status move pool. Looking at its special stats here, it does get Ancient Power if you want to try for an Omni Boost set, but that's more luck-based. Blizzard's great. Draco Meteor. It does have Pulse, but that doesn't hit nowhere near as hard as Draco Meteor. Earth Power is pretty much a must on every single set for coverage. Flash Cannon's great for Fairy-type Pokemon. Now, it does have Focus Blast for Steel types, but if you're going to be rolling like a Choice Spec set, it's dicey because you can work really well some battles, but other battles, no. And then you're locked into Focus Blast, which is not a good position to be in. Freeze Dry is an excellent way to hit Water-type Pokemon. It's also got a small freezing chance too. We sort of had a look at Hyper Voice, that's more gimmicky. Ice Beam's a good alternative to Freeze Dry if you want to only run one ice move. It's got 90 base power. It's a good move, doesn't miss. Psychic doesn't really hit too much. Shadow Ball, same sort of thing there. Weather Ball, you might be able to run that in doubles, but Blizzard's going to be better anyway. It's got more base power, and it's going to hit both of them. So unless you want like a singular target. Icy Wind, well, that's just a poorer version of Glaciate, so there'll be no reason to run that. Sheer Cold's good for a troll set, and yeah, Glaciate isn't a bad support move in doubles, like I mentioned already. Going to its physical move pool, we've got not bad coverage here. Nothing amazing there. Avalanche is going to do no good. The best one's going to be Icicle Sphere. Icicle Fang's a bit weak. There's no real reason to use that. It does get Iron Head, which could work well on a physical set for Fairy-type Pokemon. So, Dragon Dance, Iron Heads, Ice... where were we here? Oh, I made that into a mix one. But you could use Iron Head on there as well. That would be a really good move for flinching. Especially with Dragon Dance too. You'd be outspeeding a lot of things. You might be able to do like a Rock Slide set like Terra Rock Kyurem, but I don't recommend it because unfortunately Rock shares this like Steel weakness and a Fighting weakness too. So I don't think it's going to be super good. Xander Headbutt doesn't really do much, only for maybe fighting types, and it's shaky. And yeah, there's not too much there. Breaking Swipe maybe for a support set, but you're probably better off just using its big special attack stat. Heck, even its physical stat instead of that. Yeah, that's honestly pretty much it. I would say Kyurem's a nice wall break Pokemon, especially with Choice Specs. You've got a nice physical attacker there too. It can be mixed. Probably nowhere near as good though mixed, in my opinion. And then you can use it. It's quite good at Jetpack Momentum Pokemon too in doubles if you want to give that a shot. But overall, obviously a very good Pokemon, but it does have some key weaknesses, which can force you to terror a fair bit on it. That's pretty much it, everyone. I'm going to cover some of the mythical Pokemon coming up. I've covered some of them because the next regulation for VGC is like, was it Regulation J, I think? So I'll got a couple of like Majana and Volcanion and some other ones I'm going to cover too. I'll cover them before September, I guess. And yeah, we're getting sort of closer now to finishing the legendary / mythical Pokemon. So we'll be on to all the others probably in about a month or two. Anyway, that's about it. If you found this helpful, you want me to do a Pokemon, check out my playlist. I've done hundreds of them already, but maybe there's one I haven't done. You'd really like to see it. Put it below, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.